different stories from the national dailies. Start your day by gaining fresh perspectives, uncovering the story behind the story, and join the conversation. Because your voice matters. From the dailies, the conversation never stops.
Of course, it's another beautiful Monday morning in a big and beautiful city of Ibadan. My name is Ade Damala Lafenwa, and with so much excitement, I welcome you to From the Dailies on your number one radio dial, Solutions 93.9 FM. How was your weekend? And I have comrade AYODEJI AJISOPE live in the studio with me this morning. A beautiful morning to you, comrade AYODEJI AJISOPE.
Yes, a beautiful Monday morning to our listeners, our viewers, and of course to you, my dear comrade brother.
Okay, we have quite a number of stories to look into this morning. I have about 4 newspapers. I have the Guardian, I have the Nation newspaper, the Nigerian Tribune, and of course the Punch newspaper. And somebody who is known for criticizing or maybe being a critic of past administrations in Nigeria has spoken again, and this time some people would like to call it a bombshell. He said, let me just paraphrase what he said. He said, the major challenge we've been having in this country is the fact that most of our presidents were never prepared. He called them accidental presidents. We'll talk about that. Now, talking about Reverend Matthew Okuka, all Nigerian presidents were unprepared except Tinubu, says Kuka. That story is found on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. MPC's imminent rate hike jolts firms amid inflation survival concerns. Still looking at the front page of the Guardian newspaper, Dangote cuts petrol price to 970 naira for marketers. Ipman takes cue. We saved $20 billion from subsidy removal. Forex floating, says Edo. Another one, COP29 sets 2035 target for $300 billion yearly pledge to developing countries. Deviant contractors yet to deliver projects worth 74 billion naira. Stakeholders insist aging pipelines account for 50% oil spills. Looking at the Punch newspaper this Monday morning, I have this one saying that reps may clash over Tinubu's $2.2 billion fresh loan Tuesday. And riders, loan is an extra burden on government. Nigerians Minority Caucus warns, we will approve loan and ensure it is not diverted, deputy spokesman. Tinubu may present budget this week, Senate. And another one, interest rate hike likely again as MPC meets today. Okay, Olayemi Cardoso.
I hear you sigh.
Olayemi Cardoso, I mean interest rates again. Why I sighed was because I'm just trying to recollect for how many times now has the interest rate been hiked this year alone. This should be about the fourth or the fifth time.
Yeah,
This should be the fifth time now.
the Federal Reserve Board, dropped MPC about 2 weeks or so ago in the United States to stimulate
Okay, to stimulate
the economy.
the economy. Okay. Presidency tackles Kuka for tagging Tinubu accidental leader.
Presidency does what? Oh, tackles.
Tackles Kuka.
I hope it's not a rough tackle.
We know the tactics. we already know the tactics of this presidency. I mean, some of the spokespersons.
by Onanuga.
By Onanuga, I love them because they have a swift way of responding to whatever you say about the presidency.
Yeah,
have a swift-
that's why they're hired and paid
Yeah,
for.
I think they are doing their job. Upgrade. Discos may move 3 million subscribers to estimated billion. And still looking at the Punch newspaper, PDP governors, 24 states chairman plotting to keep Damagum reps. Police hunt Ogun woman for dumping child outside clinic. Pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper has that story. Oyedepo's jet can't leave private airstrip without clearance. Kayamo. Okay, now to the Nigerian Tribune. FCTA releases list of CFO debtors in Abuja. Dangote refinery reduces petrol price from 990 naira to 970 naira for marketers. And the biggest story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning says the PDP chair, fresh plot to retain Damagum beyond 2025 unfolds. Naxima OPS caution on impact of arbitrary taxation on business economy. Okay, let me take a few more stories now. We paid 1 billion naira ransom to bandits. Southern Kaduna community cries out. I would say banditry is not a lucrative business now.
Absolutely.
I mean, 1 billion naira ransom. Okay,
Good business, you could say.
it's a thriving business over there. Southwest speakers, other principal officers to push for full legislative autonomy. And the last one I'll be taking, Tinubu Buhari did not prepare for governance. Kuka. And rider under that, a mockery to critics. Economy rebounding under Tinubu's reforms. Okay, come here, let's go straight to the business of the day, looking at the stories one after the other. I would like us to start with the Dangote refinery coming up to say that there is a slash from 990 naira to 970 naira. Should we say this is a good news? And how impactful will this be the pump price of petrol for you and I?
Yeah, when I run that through my mind, I say, okay, how much is a 20 naira difference if I even want to buy 50 liters? But if you look at it from the perspective of, that's one angle. If you look at it from the perspective of millions of liters, that may be significant. But why did he do it? He says to thank Nigerians. That's a joke, I believe. That's a joke on us. He's a businessman. He's not doing handouts. It's not Christmas time for hampers. I think Dangote is just adjusting to the realities of the pricing, the pricing competition that is likely to emerge. Maybe, if you look at it from the fact that on the West African coast, the average price is about 1,500. Ghana is coming in to, buy other countries, at least 4 or 5 West African countries are now. So if he sells to ECOWAS alone, you understand?
Okay.
If he reaches by sea, it is easy to, on the West African coast, most of the West Coast, you do transport by sea. Yeah. So when you transport by sea, you will reach quite a large number of West Africa ECOWAS countries. And the other countries, even from Asia, you understand, that they are requesting for is, maybe that may even be more lucrative for him, you understand, to sell. This is in view of the fact that he's importing quite a quantum of crude oil from, what we were told is that 385,000 will be supplied him on a daily basis. There are no even guarantees for that now because NNPC is no longer the off-taker. That agreement was based on the fact that NNPC was going to be the sole off-taker of his product. NNPC is no longer the sole off-taker of his products. We do not even know the arrangement. Maybe they are doing it on the PIA section that says there must be domestic crude allocation. We should be giving priority even over export. But we're also aware that there are issues regarding borrowed money being paid for with crude that has not been produced and still under the ground. So all these scenarios put together. And the bottom line is that Dangote is a businessman. He invested his money, not wherever he got the money from, whether borrowed or whatever, is nobody's business. He's simply in business to make profit. So that reduction is still, you might say, marginal.
But looking at the cost of production for him, do you feel that he could have reduced it a little bit more?
Let's not worry ourselves about that, because by the time you add, 970. By that time you add the margins to it, how much will it be selling? Even in Lagos, how much will it be selling at the pumps? Most stations now sell, the cheapest now sells for 1,030 or so, 1,050, 1,070. Now, if people are selling at that, do you think, especially in Lagos, it is only in Lagos that it could be effective?
But do you know that there are still some independent marketers who are still selling at 1,500 naira here in Ibadan?
So be it. So be it. And Thomas, I bought a filling station, the gas station I bought some weeks back at 1,200 when I got there, and I asked, and I looked up, I saw 1,050, and I had to ask, what is the price per liter? And he said 1,050, and I said, the same place, 1,200. They're selling 1,050. Even a bigger station, bigger in terms of network, is selling at 1,100. NNPC is even selling only at 1,040. You understand? So, and this is Ibadan. And if you buy at 970, that's only 70 naira. No, that's 80 naira margin. How much is it to convey from Lagos to Ibadan? A liter. And then, in terms of renting of haulage vehicles and all of that. And then by the time you pay your overhead, if you buy from Dangote, can you afford to sell at 1,050 in Ibadan? Yes, probably Lagos. If your outlet is in Lagos and not even far from, the Dangote refineries. Maybe you can afford to buy from Dangote refinery. Maybe start getting the Lagos market alone for now.
Okay.
So if it is Ibadan, if it's going to be, but you see there are places in the north. If you have to go to the north with your product from Dangote, that's crazy. Some of these things are just unimaginable. But Ibadan, Lagos, maybe.
Okay, Ibadan, Lagos, maybe. All right, let's go to that Reverend Matthew Kuka, Archbishop of Sokoto Diocese, saying that presidents in Nigeria, we've been having accidental leadership, and he had a breakdown of that stuff. What he said, which I don't know if I can have enough time to read it, saying that in essence, he was saying that most of the presidents we've had in the past were never prepared. He made mention of Umar Yar'Adua. He said when he was finishing his term as a governor, he had a mind of going back to classes to become a lecturer.
Yeah.
Before he was dragged to become the president. He mentioned Goodluck Jonathan, that Goodluck Jonathan never dreamt of even getting there. He made mention of Obasanjo, that Obasanjo was in the prison. He was brought out of the prison, and some people came. That even when they said that you should contest, he said he had no money. They said, we will pay, we will fund you. He went on and on and on to mention so many of them like that we've been having accidental presidents, that they were never prepared. That was why we found ourselves in this mess. What do you make out of that?
On one hand, you might say that it is true. But you see, it is an offer. Huh? You might accept. You have the right to accept or reject. You understand? I recall Babangida visiting Obasanjo in his house in a Taiko, and saying, granting an interview as he stepped into the vehicle. He was conveying a message from the Northern Military Caucus, led by him officially. Ali Yuguso was the foot soldier, General Abdullahi, General Danjuma, and all of them. They were the ones that foisted Obasanjo on Nigeria, or on the Southwest first, as as the compensation for Abiola. So I now foisted him and financed him. You understand? Financed him. They knew he was not hostile to the North. He was amenable, and he had a.
But Obasanjo was never prepared for it. Well, according to Kuka, he was dragged into it.
He was dragged into it. But you see,
so that was a fact.
It requires your consent. And when you agree to a leadership position, it comes with a lot of burden. You will have considered that. And there's a need to rise to that occasion.
But don't you feel it's a different ball game when the ambition comes from within?
What is the
or when you are being compelled? Then when you are being compelled, or when you are being asked to take it.
Now, when you call it an ambition, what is the main driver of this ambition and desire? Is it service, or is it just the office? I want to be president. I must be president. I mean, you want to be president. To what end? I want power. I must be governor. To what end? All of them. The public service is not looking like the topmost thing on the agenda. Vision is not looking like something at the top of the agenda. The one that we were told prepare, or the one that told us he prepared for 30 years.
He made mention of Bola Tinubu that even the only one that seemed to have prepared, he seems not to be getting it right.
Yeah, because you would expect that a man that has prepared, not to talk of preparing for 30 years for an office that apparently had evolved over that period of time. Because the office of president in Nigeria had evolved from military president to elected and an aborted Third Republic, and then to a Fourth Republic that has run for now, which I hear some people call this dispensation, as if they are looking forward to another dispensation. And that's coming from the media, this dispensation. So that evolution, and it was part of that aborted Third Republic. You understand? So that evolution, a man that has prepared for that office will have followed, understood the evolution, and met the challenges head on. You understand? Met the challenges head on. And the way he confronted the challenges, he confronted the challenges because the issue of subsidy and dual exchange something were major challenges. But the way he confronted those two critical and major challenges, staring us in the face, dragging Nigeria into an abyss, the way he confronted them showed that he was not prepared. Because we talked of a third leg, provision before prohibition, or, you understand? But all we hear are palliatives that had never worked. You understand? That is him. Obasanjo tried because of his experience, you understand? Obasanjo tried, and because of his stature globally, nationally, and globally. But Obasanjo showed also, considerations. He showed the tendency for considerations that are not visionary in nature. Towards the tail end, he started unfolding things. Things he should have also have done, you understand, earlier. We should have done, Obasanjo should have done the trains in this country long before now. The Abuja train thing, these were things that were already in the Abuja master plan.
Yes.
It wasn't something that he was going to draw up. For God's sake, why don't Obasanjo do a train in Abuja alone and do train in even within Nigeria? You understand? So I don't get it. I don't get it. So I think it's marks of vision. In the case of Yaradua, Yaradua never wanted to be. Yaradua just wanted to go back to the academy.
Good Lord Jonathan never wanted to be.
And he never rose to the occasion. Even the words that came out of Jonathan's mouth, one of them is, the one that we remember very well is, corruption is not stealing. You see, I understand what Jonathan was
trying to say.
And was trying to say. But look at this simplistic and below par delivery of a doctor of philosophy in whatever field. That's below par.
Now, looking at...
and it gives you an insight into his thought processes.
Now, looking critically at the report of the Guardian newspaper this morning now, it now seems as if even those that were not prepared, that we can call accidental leaders, Nigerians seem to enjoy that tenor. The complaints were not this much. Now, why is the complaint coming more from a man that had dreamt and prepared for over 30 years to become the president, according to the Guardian newspaper this morning?
Exactly. The issues are what preceded him. 8 years of...
This is somebody that prepared.
He prepared, according to him. Now, it was preceded by the same party man, a Buhari that refused to confront the challenges. Rather than confront the fiscal challenges, he resorted to, the easy way out, the line of least resistance. There is no money. What do you mean? Print more money. And that is what they were doing with ways and means. I think 50-something trillion. And let's confront the issue of subsidy. This was a man that said subsidy was a scam and did not exist. And when he got there, he continued to pay bigger sums in subsidy. And reports, Kaduna governor, El-Rufai said they presented, let's confront it. The man said no. And he decided that right after he left, 1 month after he spent 8 years in office, that subsidy there should be no provision for that subsidy. I mean, do you call that a leader? Not to even start talking of a good leader. You understand? You are either a leader or you are not a good leader, or you are not a leader. Saying one good leader or one leader is good or is not good. Now, and what preceded him? And Obasanjo, that you say his period was good. What was the price for the sale of crude oil? You understand? What was the market price for the sale of crude oil? And what was the exchange rate? And it was during the Jonathan era that reserves dried up. No buffer. Who does that? And the governor said, visionless people who are politicians, they're not leaders. He said that leaders think of the future. Politicians think of the next election. And they thought they needed more money to throw around their state to satisfy the people, as it were, or, and then they said, let's share the money. Let's share the future. And they went to court. And, you see, law, my father would say the law is an ass. But if they say all resources, all revenue must come into the federal distributable pool, but for God's sake, what prevents saving? I guess that should be amended. I mean, even the judges say, there's some social engineering
now,
law.
Do we now say that these things you're mentioning that the past administration didn't implement, are the things that this administration is implementing but bringing pains
It
to
will
Nigerians?
bring pain, severe pain. You remove tariff from energy. You remove tariff from PMS. What would you call it? You remove subsidy from energy. You remove subsidy from PMS. You even out the two windows of exchange, and yet you do not have enough supply of that currency. And the elite have tens of millions of US dollars. Probably you go to some, they probably have $500 million in cash in their homes. They were buying up the dollars, and of course that was dragging, the demand for dollar was dragging down the value of the naira. And then the president comes and say, by presidential fiat, and say it was seized by, what do you call it, courage. Courage. Courage without deep thinking is foolhardiness. It's as simple as that. What courage?
But now the presidency has responded to all these allegations, saying that Tinubu is a reformer, not accidental leader. Presidency fires back at Kuka. And the account of the Punch newspaper says presidency tackles Kuka for tagging Tinubu accidental leader.
I have noticed one thing about Nigerians, and in my reflections, that we do not have good grasp of the situation at hand, and then we offer opinions, and that's a reflection of who we are. You see, Tinubu might be a good reformer. We've said it here once or twice. A major challenge that I find very curious about this administration is the lack of capacity for effective communication. Even the IMF said that the buy-in of the people, how do you get the buy-in of the people? By communicating with them.
Definitely.
And when you get feedback, you understand, you either step up your communication, you understand, step up your communication to fill up the gaps. We don't even do having that. All we have is combat, barricade tone. You know, the days of from what do you call him?
Bayononuga.
You know, that's a huge gap. It beats me. 13 of them now, 8 in the communication, and we're not getting the necessary effective communication that is impacting. And I find it that very strange that this was the same set of people that mounted a nationwide what do you call it?
Movement.
Media blitz in 2014-15. Branded Jonathan Clueless, and branded but what do you call that one? Buhari.
And they were able
Buhari
they were able to support their drive with them. Fact.
All sorts of graphics. And they started telling us stories like we are going to power will be people like Fashola was quoted to have said power should be available in 6 months. We had people like late Momo told Momo saying if in 2 years or whatever they have not done the needful, they should be stoned. And then then Buhari and his media aides came out to say all those things that were said is not part of their manifesto. How do you come out and tell the people that? But
they were said.
They were said
to bring you to power. When
one day I met a 30-year-old cousin of mine, a child of 1985. Yeah, he was 29, and I heard him say, highly educated in Nigeria and England, and he said, change. He said, what was it? Was it change there, Abi?
Change.
And he had this northern thing, and he said, change Doleni. I was scared. I was scared that they had even gone into the minds of the youth that knew nothing about the history of Nigeria. Nobody asked any question about Buhari. The only question I was asking then, Damula, was what value had Buhari added to himself that he was coming to add to Nigeria? How many years after? 85 to 2014. That was 25.
It was well repackaged and it was made sellable.
By who?
By this
same media group. Now unable to communicate
and
for
make
its own principle
sellable.
It's unbelievable.
But Eno Mokri is saying something here. He said economy rebounding under Tinubu's reforms.
It's economy.
He said economy. Omokri to critics. Economy rebounding under Tinubu's reforms.
How do we know if the economy is rebounding? Where do we get, when there is a crunch, where do we get information from? From the people, right?
Yes.
So when the economy is rebounding, where do we get information from?
We should get from the people.
So what are the people saying?
The negative. Okay, still talking about the economy. Olayemi Cardoso is in the news again this morning. And for about the 5th, if not the 6th time this year alone, interest rate is likely to be geared up again because they're having the MPC meeting. And every time I see in the news that MPC is meeting, it's going to be another increment in interest rate. And even before now, we know that the manufacturers, even the business owners, private organizations, investors are complaining that getting access to loan, getting the capital to fund their thing is now the interest rate is about to go up again. They say that it's to cushion or to stimulate the economy.
And to tame inflation.
To tame inflation. Now this is about the 5th time this 2024 alone. Are these things working? If they are working, why do they need to keep on bringing it up again? And it seems only Olayemi Cardoso and Wale Edun that see the positive in these things. Nigerians don't see what they are seeing.
I know Tinubu and some of his men, Cardoso and
Wale.
Yemi Cardoso and Wale Edun are not, in spite of the fact that they are even from this part of the geopolitical landscape, they are not loved, if not hated.
But these guys are believed to be experts in this field to know what works and what doesn't work.
Yes, let's talk about this from the perspective of taming inflation.
Okay.
Increasing MPC is particularly to tame inflation. But that is a textbook
approach.
Classical textbook approach. We're talking about inflation in Nigeria. When we talk about inflation in Nigeria, let's break it down a little bit. There's a cost-driven inflation, and there is a demand-driven inflation. Basically, it is the demand-driven inflation that interest rate, the one we call interest rate, is used to tame. When people are buying up and there's demand is high, that means there's so much liquidity in people's hands. You understand? Then you jack up the interest rate. When you jack up the interest rate, it goes right in the cycle. Then lesser cash is available. But is our inflation demand driven? Is it demand? Is it the demand that is driving our inflation? Certainly not. Our inflation is cost driven. The cost of production. And when you increase, interest rate. The producers of goods and services, they are the ones that take the loans. And then when you increase the interest rate, you are increasing their cost of production.
Definitely.
And then it goes to the cycle again. So it is not demand-driven inflation. It is a cost-driven inflation. Yet, they are using the standard to...
Now, my concern, and which would be the concerns of some Nigerians too, is the fact that this is about the 5th time they are doing this. If they did it the first time, it didn't work. That's why they had to increase it. Second time, it didn't work. They had to... Why not try new options?
Look, when that guy that left office, what was his name? The man that was removed before this one. Emefiele. He deployed it several times, not as frequently as this. When it got to a head, that was when they thought the Naira to resign. And what was it? They discovered that out of maybe 3 or 4 trillion that was supposed to be in circulation, 2/3 of it, or worst case scenario, half of it was not in the banking circulation. It was in cash in people's homes and vaults. So how do you track that? How do you know what is being done with it? If liquidity of 1.5 trillion is in cash in people's hands, how do you track what they're doing with it? If it is within the banking system, you understand, you can track and you can know what is happening. But if 1.7 trillion is in people's hands, cash, how do you track what is happening to it? You cannot track. And quite a number of it is in US dollars.
Why are they not considering the aftermath of this strategy they're using? I mean, when you have to increase the interest rate, the aftermath, the ripple effect it will have on the producers, on the manufacturers. I mean, like you said, it will increase the cost of production.
Certainly.
And some of them might not even be able to cope. Even before now, we've had companies folding up. We've had manufacturers crying every day, saying that the economy, the policies are strangulating their survival. This is coming up again.
Yes, because it is a standard tool.
Which is
Tell me.
workable.
Well, it is a classic textbook approach for taming inflation.
Workable.
They say it is working. Didn't you hear them?
They say it is working. But you and I, other Nigerians, do we see it working?
Well, that is what they look. This same Cardozo, what do you call his name, said in that same function that Nigeria saved 20 billion US dollars from the twin policy of removing subsidy.
Yeah, it's in the news this morning.
And closing and shutting down the other window. Having only one exchange rate for the unified exchange rate. They said Nigeria saved $20 billion, and then somebody was asking, so why do you have to go and borrow?
Well, when I saw the headline this morning,
like
I was wondering. That was what came to my mind.
That.
That why, if we have saved $20 billion,
We saved does not mean we saved cash.
Okay.
We saved expenditure.
Okay, what
It wasn't as if that money was flowing.
What we should have spent
thrown out.
Okay, okay. Thanks for the clarification there. Now, still talking economy. NACSIMA, OPA, that's the organized private sector, caution on impact of arbitrary taxation on business and economy.
Very critical. That is even probably more critical than
interest rates.
Yes. And that Taiwo Idele committee had done a beautiful job. And he isn't a new man to issue of taxation. He had been in other federal government. I've listened to him over and over and over in his public engagements. And even the issue of, the issue of the one the Northerners are talking about. I find it quite curious that the sharing formula that the man has recommended now is that Dangote Industries has its headquarters in Lagos. The two biggest companies that remit VAT, Dangote Industries and MTN. Now, they attribute all the VAT of MTN to Lagos because MTN's headquarters is in Lagos. No matter where they make the call, the Oyedele committee, by the bill, one of the bills sent to the National Assembly says, how can you attribute all the VAT to Lagos? Because MTN headquarters is in Lagos. Let us attribute those calls, the VAT, to the locations where the calls were initiated. If 1 million calls were initiated in Kano, attribute the VAT to Kano. If 2 million was initiated in Kaduna, attribute it to... People didn't look at the details. The only one they looked at was the issue of alcohol consumption and the VAT on it. What about the others? It's a matter of, okay, which one is earning us, So generally about taxation, you understand? I think this committee has done a lot about the issue of taxation. Our laws, when people talk about what is restructuring, I think people are not understanding the fact that it is not just administrative, you understand, in terms of who has what power and all of that. Look, on Friday, the Supreme Court ruled that the National Assembly has no powers to make laws for Nigeria regarding gaming and all of that. You understand?
The National Lottery.
National Lottery. These are the things that the states and all stakeholders must press for and test this constitution. Rather than just one blanket, you want us to sit down and hold a conference and decide what is not. Before the Power Act of 2023, it was allowed for states to generate power not more than 10 megawatts. Which state? Even which state now? But we're evolving gradually. Because at 209 naira, no investor will come to Nigeria. About power. Go and check it out. People are paying tariffs that are way above what discos are charging. But what do you see? People are getting services. These are industries. When you generate power with the diesel, you do it at 400, according to the disco when they were challenging UCH. We are saying 209. You say you cannot pay. Yet you are generating power with diesel at 400 naira. So if I'm in industry, You understand? I get regular power supply 24/7, and I pay 250 or 300. You understand? Why won't I? I don't need to worry about just the generators buying diesel, maintaining them. People who are in charge of the generators, they are going to try to steal the diesel. There's no way. Whether in private or business, they are either going to manipulate in fact, there are two locations. They can manipulate the price of the diesel, and those who are on ground, who are not buying, they will try and steal their own. If they cannot go and buy, they will steal. And the others who are purchasing will add a kobo or two. You understand? So if you have power, clean power, flowing 24/7, you don't have to bother yourself about generator or buying diesel or maintaining them. You understand? So, which one is cheaper? They're doing it about power, Professor Bart Energy. So all of this, when you put it into consideration, it is better for us to, do this transition. It's a painful one. Painful one.
All right, comrade, because you spoke about power now, maybe it's a convenient point for us to go to the power sector now. It's 10:12 on Solutions 93.9 FM. It's still from the dailies. We're looking at different stories on the pages of the papers this morning. And on the front page of the Punch newspaper, I have this one saying, upgrade. Discos may move 3 million subscribers to estimated billing. About a week or two ago, we're talking about the deadline Discos gave to people that the prepaid meter, a particular set of prepaid meter were about to be phased out. And for renewal, for replacement of that meter, there was an amount that has to be paid, which the federal government and some other institutions came up and said that no, this meter should be given to the consumers free of charge. But eventually, Discos bowed to that order from the federal government. Now they're saying that Discos may move 3 million subscribers to estimated billing, meaning that those that were not able to get their phased out prepaid meters replaced will have to be moved to estimated billing.
This kind of arbitrariness, it can only happen in place.
So it is not the Discos that will decide how much you pay.
I repeat, this kind of arbitrariness, this kind of...
Is this not... It looks like hostage taken.
It is hostage taken. And you see, this is what I talk about every time. People, we should organize ourselves. How can a disco is a business entity, operating under the laws of this country. How can they just make such pronouncements? And people are not in court yet. Neighborhood associations. You understand? No, you cannot do that. This is the rules of a business entity. Not just government that will say this and then people will just fold their arms. They can be sued. And people should sue them. You see, some of these things, I don't understand. I told you a few days ago that I'm one of those who is willing to test. And I found a gentleman who looks like a crusader because he has tested. How can you do that? You understand? Look, the problem is we want result. We don't want processes. Of course, it's going to take a legal battle.
But Disco said, look at their own view. They said your meters, your prepaid meters, that particular set will be phased out. And you need to be replaced. That meter needs to be replaced. And you have to make some payment.
Who owns them? These are the questions. Who owns the meters? Does the meter belong to me? If I move from that house, if it's a rented apartment, will I move to the next house?
That was the question that Serap was asking them. That was the question that this Federal Consumer Protection Agency.
Why ask questions? Why not go and ask the questions in court? Why are you asking Disco? Why don't you simply proceed to the court and ask those questions?
Now, because the federal government now stepped into the matter and said that Disco shouldn't collect money for replacement. They are now saying, okay, if you don't want us to collect money, then we'll move.
And now they move to do far worse.
Now move everybody.
That's an opportunity for them now.
Since you are unable to get your prepaid meter replaced, we'll move you automatically.
Which is
to
even far worse because if you don't supply me, I have a prepaid meter. If you don't supply me with power, I don't pay. So, but postpaid, you just say, hey, you pay 30,000.
Whether we supply you or not. That was how I used the word hostage taking.
I have one of those old meters. You understand? The very first set of meters that you have to go to one outlet to go and slide it through stuff. I guess maybe that's going to happen to us. Maybe it has been.
Now with this, what should Nigerians do?
Let us test all of this in the law courts. It's as simple as that. We want results without processes.
3 million subscribers now.
We want, you just multiply, depending on your area. If you are living in Bodija, they say pay 30,000. If you are living in Alekusho, maybe they cannot even collect money from you. If you are living
And if you are living in a highbrow area,
I know one woman that pays 50,000.
Estimated billing
now. And you still have to go and do all sorts of things.
So Nigerians show.
One man was saying with even meters, this one, what do they call this, prepaid meter, that he pays 20,000 naira a day. I just couldn't process it.
20,000 naira
Yes.
a day. A day.
Yes. One girl was complaining to me that they will buy. That one was even complaining about.
Is it using the thing in the factory or what?
I don't know. Residential. In fact, it's Igbo. That's it. One niece of mine was telling me about 3 months ago that hey, they don't put on light anywhere. In the house, when they're in the living room, it's only the TV that is on. They don't put on light, and they don't even pump water anymore with electricity. They pump water with generator because it's cheaper to pump water with generator. All these things I don't understand.
Well, to buttress what you say, I said it on this platform some time ago that I spoke with the manager of a particular IBEDC branch, and he actually confirmed what you say, that they just look at the area. Okay, these people should be able to pay this, so bill them. Those that are on estimated billing.
I lived in a particular area. Of course, you won't have access to anybody's home.
Yes.
The time these people will come, they say they want to access. We were using prepaid then. No, we were using postpaid. Of course, they will not have access to any home in that area. They were not going to have. People will not even mind them. If the house girls or house boys or whatever were at home, they won't mind anybody. So they just decided, enumerate how many houses are in this neighborhood. At the point in time, they said I was owing 200 and something thousand naira. And when we got new meters, they started deducting it from whatever I deposited for power.
I once had the same issue too.
I wrote. Then they just started deducting. If I paid 10,000, I knew I was going to get power for 5,000. And I said, am I building a house?
But eventually you had to pay.
I left the area. I left that particular area. Yeah.
All right, comrade, we have a little time left. Let's go into politics. PDP is in the news again. It has always been in the news. PDP chair, fresh plot to retain Damagum beyond 2025 unfolds. Who are those who do not want Damagum on that seat? What are the offenses of Damagum? And why can't PDP just come to a compromise, reach a compromise? I mean, this is the one man that is causing chaos in the party. If I were Damagum, shouldn't I step down for peace to reign?
Okay, before Damagum, that was AJISOPE.
Why has it always been the same train, the same cycle every now and then?
Before AJISOPE, you remember in 2015, there was that man.
Secondos.
Before Secondos.
There was another one before Secondos.
That man that was governor of...
McAfee.
Not McAfee.
Not even McAfee.
The one that was tussling with McAfee.
I can't remember his name.
That Borno
man. The tribal man. Yeah.
He's not a
Alimodu Sharif. Alimodu Sharif, yeah. I remember.
Was in APCU and he came, they made it. You see, it is not about those individuals. It is about the tendencies which they represent. Who is Damagum?
What you said now, Alimodu Sharif's tenure, when that crisis was so hot, I kept on having at the back of my mind that this guy is an APC man in there. So that was why all these things was happening.
But you see now that it's not about the APC.
Now I know that it's not about the APC man.
It is about the tendency and the interest you represent. Who is Damagum? Damagum was a national vice chairman now. Ambassador Damagum. It is not about Damagum.
And this individual is causing them
state.
They are losing state.
It is about interest that you represent, the tendency that you represent.
You know, I said something. If I were Damagum, shouldn't I step down?
Damagum will not step down.
Why?
Because Damagum is a symbolic of a tendency, and he has assurances.
When he knows that the crisis is causing.
If Damagum leaves the place,
yes,
do you think there will be a resolution? They will simply put another person there. Another person will replace Damago.
And the wahala will continue.
The wahala will continue.
Which is costing them. It has cost them. It has cost them. Edo, they've lost Edo State now. They failed to secure Ondo.
Osun is coming.
Osun is coming very soon. With this, do they have any prospect in Osun?
Are you sure that is not the intent?
And we heard what Bode George said on Friday, saying that a house divided against itself. Now, why can't they just let peace reign?
Are you sure that is not the plot? Are you sure that is not the motive? Are you sure that is not the intention that the house should remain divided?
Oh, so that they can lose all the...
Do we have a part? Are you sure we... Look, I've always argued here that we do not have political parties.
As we wrap up this morning.
What we have are special purpose vehicles to attain power. You understand? We don't have... What are the hallmarks of a political party? Shared interests. Are they in the interest, in the overall overriding interest of the party? That is when you share shared values, shared interests, a convergence. Is it looking like there's a convergence of...
They are getting set for their convention now with this crisis.
Have you forgotten that PDP was holding the convention, and the day before the convention, the chairman was presiding, and the court order was issued on Friday that the chairman should step aside? Have you forgotten?
I remember.
The PDP, days of impunity are not over.
I remember the days when they used to say that the largest party in the whole of Africa, PDP,
that they were going to rule for half a century.
And sadly, it is disintegrated this bad.
Impunity.
And the stakeholders are not doing enough to salvage the situation.
Well, you see,
to bring back the lost to glory.
What are the things that you could use to persuade them? You understand? These guys that are at the throat of the party.
Now, what Serap is doing now, being the mouthpiece of the people, playing the opposition now, should be things that PDP, Labour Party, should be doing. Criticizing the policies and what this government is doing. But they are not doing that.
Atiku is doing that as an individual.
He's a one-man mopo.
He's acting that, okay, if the party is divided, I will remain the opposition and visible until 2027, which he probably hopes to run again.
It's sad, actually.
And every other person will be branded as destructive element.
All right, comrade.
So Atiku is just trying to stand above the party. You understand? I'm a leader. I'm a leader of no mean stature, above all this party free. And he's projecting that image positively.
And if he continues that, I'm not minding what is happening in the party, does he think he's going to get a ticket?
Well, let us wait and see.
We know that Damagun and Atiku are not on the same page.
Well, let us wait and see.
So what Atiku is doing now, is it not going to be effort in futility come 2027 or come 2026 when the party refuses to hand him the ticket?
You never know what he can do. Politicians. He can move to another platform and collaborate with somebody else. And then the PDP will... Do you think Atiku is going to walk away? Do you think Atiku is going to walk away from a political fight? Do you think the way Atiku was dealt with by the G5 and their collaborators and their active collaborators, do you think Atiku is going to walk away? Atiku is not going to walk away.
All right. Well, if Atiku is not going to walk away, it's a convenient point for us to walk away this morning.
I like that.
All right, comrade, thank you very much for being a part of the program this morning.
Always, brother.
Okay, thank you for at least managing me the way I am this morning. I mean, I've been a little bit under the weather over the weekend.
It's still you.
Okay, still me. Well, like the saying goes in this field, the show must go on.
The show must go on. And you did make sure that the show went on this morning and went on very, very well too.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, that's the wrap for today. We're back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition of From the Dailies on your number one radio dial, Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is Aditamola LAFFY. Let's go out there and make it a money-making Monday once again. Good morning.
If there What you gonna do when they ask you what you done with your office of power, brother? Oh, what you done, sister? They don't know, you think they don't know. They don't know why that man had to go to jail. You think they don't know why that man had to die.
Keep it 93.9.
That man can't feed himself. You think they don't know, but I know, and I will tell. Yes, I will tell. My soul, my royal, my soul, yeah, my royal. Ìbàjẹ́ kú ìbàjẹ́, ìbàjẹ́ má ṣe bàjẹ́. Ìbàjẹ́ kú ìbàjẹ́, ìbàjẹ́ má ṣe bàjẹ́. Màá sọ ọ́, màá ròyìn o. Màá sọ ọ́, yeah, màá ròyìn o. Màá sọ ọ́, màá ròyìn o. Màá sọ ọ́, yeah, màá ròyìn o. Ìbàjẹ́ kú ìbàjẹ́, ìbàjẹ́ má ṣe bàjẹ́. Ìbàjẹ́ kú ìbàjẹ́, ìbàjẹ́ má ṣe bàjẹ́. Ìbàjẹ́ kú ìbàjẹ́, ìbàjẹ́.
Radio is all about information, education, and entertainment.
Maybe that's before now. Solutions 93.9 FM has raised the standard of radio broadcast to preferring solutions in all human angle.